Hello, my beautiful baddies. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan James. I'm a little bit tired today because I was flying all day. I am now back in Bangkok. I am officially a Bangkok baddie. I know that sounds funny, but mm, Bangkok is probably one of my favorite cities. I just love the energy here. I love the diversity here. I love the culture, the Thai people. I'm just so happy to be back. It's one of my favorites. Um, Aside from that point, remember that life is not happening to you, but happening through you. When you become the change you seek to experience, you're going to experience that change everywhere you go, and you are showing the world how to treat you based off of the identity you're in, how you're showing up, how you're responding to life, whatever you're mentally persisting in, and the example you're setting. And that's actually going to be today's topic. You are showing the world, excuse me, you are showing the world how to treat you based off the example you set. And I'm going to actually use myself as an example in this past Valentine's Day. And I'm going to tie into this topic the idea of being difficult and knowing there is a time and place for everything. Context is obviously important. But when you have, in my opinion, a healthy self-esteem, grounded identity, a healthy belief system in place, you realize that people's opinions of you don't really matter and they don't define who you are. And you have to show up and assert yourself in the right moments and really discern what those right moments are for you. And some social dynamics, being too assertive, being too difficult is not going to work in the way that you desire because, again, there's a time and place for everything. But when you're really looking at how you operate on your day-to-day life, there's little moments that are really indicative of what you actually believe. And again, I'm going to use an example from my life, and then we'll go into some moments. I'll give an example of where, like, again, you have to take into context different social experiences. So for this past Valentine's Day, I had a very lovely, beautiful dinner with my partner, booked a reservation um, at a very nice restaurant. And when we were met and seated, they initially placed us at a table right next to the kitchen. And it was an okay table. It was probably, if I'm being honest, one of the worst tables in the restaurant, considering the amount of space and how beautiful the restaurant was. And we sat down initially, just taking in the environment and then realized, being next to the kitchen's very loud. The waiters, although they were professional, were speaking loudly over their little headsets. And so we pretty much said, we would like to sit at this other table. Is it available? Uh, and they responded, yes, it's available. But they wanted to place us at a table that was decently better, but still not in a great location in the restaurant. I immediately got up. My partner immediately got up. We went to the center table in the middle of the restaurant, and the entire staff was asking us to stop, telling us that other people had reservations, and we just said, no, this is the table we want, right? We had a reservation too. Again, a very nice restaurant, and eventually they folded and said, okay, you can sit at this table. And it's hilarious because looking back at that experience, no other reservations came in. For whatever reason, they were trying to be difficult. Um, but that was an instance where, again, looking at it, it's like everybody here is paying a certain amount of money to go to this restaurant. We all have to put in reservations, and I deserve to have the quality experience that I desire as a paying customer where it's equally fair for everybody. This was not an assigned seating reservation. So everybody just had to book a reservation and they were being seated based off of how the restaurant wanted to seat them. And again, I know this may sound like a small instance, but it's moments like that that really show you where you are in your identity, right? Am I going to just accept the corner table because it's still nice, or do I deserve the center? when we're looking at the context of all of this, again, this is fair. Everybody here had to make a reservation. There was no assigned seating. There were no reservations afterwards, so no other customers came in. So the restaurant was lying for whatever reason. And that was an instance where being difficult and setting that example, regardless of if workers went into the kitchen and were gossiping or whatever they were saying, it did not define my partner or myself. And so when you are going out into the world, one thing I have seen some people say is when I'm showing up differently, sometimes people aren't responding great. And this is another instance where I'm not getting treated the way I deserve to be treated because of how they're responding to it. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter how they respond. Okay? Context matters. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm not saying to go out into, the world and be a menace and be demanding and unrealistic, but people will try to fit you into a little box, put you at the table next to the kitchen, not give you the full experience that you desire and that you deserve unless you assert yourself. And you do that in a way that does not allow how they're reacting to it to define you. And I'm going to really encourage a lot of you to embrace this and really be intentional and pay attention to detail in different instances and what you're accepting and what that says about your identity because your brain is keeping track. Your brain is keeping score. So our behaviors are the biggest indicator of our belief system. And if we so quickly fold at comfort and we don't want to bother people and we're okay with accepting something we don't really want because we don't want to make other people uncomfortable, what message is that sending to my brain? What message is that sending to my body about my standards and what I believe I deserve? You deserve to sit in the middle. You deserve to have the top tier experience, right? You have to set that example. And in some instances, again, context matters. So let's say if you're with a giant social crowd, group of people, and everybody is equally contributing, then being difficult in that moment may not necessarily have the intended effect that you want, right? So there's certain instances where you have to see like, okay, here I can compromise a little bit because it's appropriate. It's not a reflection of me accepting less than what I deserve. It's me working together with other people because we are all operating in the same way, right? There's a time and place for everything. And in some of those social dynamics, you may need to assert yourself if people, again, if we're looking at fairness and equality, for instance, the restaurant, everybody had to book a reservation, everybody's paying about the same amount of money. It was a set meal that you had to pay for in advance. So from a fairness perspective, asserting myself and assert my partner and I asserting ourselves, that was logical, rational, right? And the table was open. There were plenty of spaces. In a social dynamic, if you are contributing equally and being treated less than, then being difficult may be appropriate, right? There's certain context to everything. But the main message in today's video and from my example here is to realize it is okay to be difficult. It is okay to have standards, and you should not be internalizing people being upset at your unwillingness to accept subpar experiences when you have shown up fully, taken time out of your day, invested financially, whatever it may be, to be there, to be a part of the experience. Whether that's dating, whether that's in your career, or whether that's in different social experiences, you have to advocate for yourself. And when you're really doing this in the way that I'm speaking about, in a fair, mature, context aware way, you're going to be operating fairly. And anybody that has a problem with it doesn't matter. None of your concern. They can go be upset in a corner and figure it out and process their emotions and be an adult. Again, the message in my channel is you show the world how to treat you based off of the identity you're in and how you're showing up, what you're persisting in, and the example that you set. So if you want to have top tier experiences, if you want to be prioritized, if you want to be loved properly, you have to be discerning in each moment with what example you're setting. Your time is your most precious commodity. Your your ability to be present, taking time out of your day, again, investing, whatever it is, deserves to be honored properly. Another point that I want to add to this when it comes to discernment is becoming acutely aware of when you feel uncomfortable and realizing that if you are going into different social experiences, again, whether dating and working environments, whatever it may be, if anybody is scoffing at you, making you feel uncomfortable, acting unprofessional in a dating sense, being awkward, or you're just not vibing with them, please realize that you do not have to be nice. The moment you feel uncomfortable within your body, I'm going to highly encourage you to not care about if you make this other person uncomfortable because you decide to remove yourself. And you can do this in a very calm, mature, regulated way. We're going to talk about why this is important from a belief standpoint as well, too. You do not have to force yourself or stay in any situation to be nice to comfort other people's egos. Okay? Please accept this as a truth and genuinely take what I'm about to say and put it into full embodiment and operating in your life. The reason why I'm saying this is because, again, when we're making belief adjustments, our brain is paying attention to our behaviors and how we're showing up and how we're responding. And what I'm encouraging you to do on my channel is to no longer use people or circumstances outside of you to gauge who you are or how you identify, which means you no longer need their validation or approval, right? So if I'm in an interaction with somebody and they're making me feel uncomfortable, and I am somebody that is respected, loved properly, prioritized properly, I only entertain respectful, loving dynamics. Again, this is making sure we're taking into account proper context. They're actually doing something that is genuinely bothersome. It's not just a projection internally of something that is unaddressed within me. Even if that is the case, if you're uncomfortable, you should remove yourself. Okay. But if I am, the moment I'm feeling uncomfortable, if I can say, hey, you know what? Thank you for taking your time out of your day to meet with me today for whatever this is. We don't need to proceed any further. I've heard enough. I'm going to leave now. That is all you have to do. No explanation. The reason why this is important because some of you are not doing that. Okay. So you're staying in situations to be nice. You're allowing yourself to be uncomfortable. The person or whatever is going on, they're already depicting things that you don't like. And so you're trying to reason. Let me be nice. Let me reason with this person from a place where they are already being unreasonable with you. And then the experience ends up being bad. And then you take what that person has done and you use that to define who you are. See, this person was a jerk. All men are jerk. All women suck. I never get what I want. People don't respect me. It's that moment, the moment you feel uncomfortable, if you can just be like, hey, you know what? This is all good. I don't need to entertain this. One, you're going to feel so good and proud of yourself for honoring yourself. It's going to build your self-esteem so much. But two, you have now avoided that circumstance and experience of being nice, and then it's still not going well and it defining you. Instead, you stepped in and said, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to remove myself. Why? Because it's normal for me to receive consistency, respect, whatever it is. I only entertain respectful, loving dynamics. I only entertain people that speak to me in healthy ways, whatever it is. You define it and you allow that belief system to guide you. And again, it doesn't matter how people react. You do not need to, they don't need to show up in any particular way to validate who you are, what you believe, or the experiences you're going to create for yourself. And the sooner you accept that as a truth and genuinely embody this and move about the world in this way, you will see the world adjusts to meet you where you are. Whether that's people adjusting their behavior or you elevating so high that you attract in people that actually match where you're operating and you're no longer wasting your time entertaining people that are not mentally or emotionally mature enough to meet you at the level you're operating at, which is what you deserve. Okay? So I hope today and moving forward this week, again, we're doing the 100% challenge on my channel. You guys have been keeping up with that. Okay? I want you to be 100% in each interaction that you have and really discerning and seeing, like, am I accepting things that I don't want to accept? We're done doing that. Am I keeping myself in situations that I feel uncomfortable with? We're done doing that. I'm not perpetuating these narratives anymore. I will remove myself when I feel uncomfortable. I don't have to explain myself. If somebody wants to follow up with me, I will, yeah, be respectful. Yep, I left because you made me feel uncomfortable for XYZ reason. Don't really need, that's it. Okay, it's fine. I just remove myself. Stop letting these random people and circumstances to define you. Because my partner and I could have very easily sat next to the kitchen and create a whole narrative of, like, we get treated differently, even though we're paying customers. No, I'm not accepting this. You're not going to treat me differently. I define my own experiences. And if you're unwilling to rise up to my reasonable request, I will gladly take my money elsewhere. I don't need to eat here. And that's still not going to define me. I'm still going to go have an amazing night. Okay. So I hope that you guys can take some inspiration from this, because when you begin to operate this way, you cut out all the BS in your life. You don't have to fight with anybody. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to explain. You're very grounded in who you are and you move accordingly. And you will watch again the world and the right people rise up to meet you there. And if some people aren't willing to rise up and meet you there, okay, bye. Next. That is how you want to be moving about the world, audaciously and boldly and self-recognized, and deciding what your experiences are. So I hope you took something away from today's video. As always, I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful day, night time, wherever you are. And until next video, stay safe. Bye.